Not counting Friday's video because that was done ahead of time, but I'm starting this year out with something unusual for me, a scripted video. Now don't worry, this isn't me changing my entire model because with my workload, scripting every week is not happening. But I wanted to make sure I said everything right. I'm not going to give any specifics of what happened with what I talk about, partly from a sense of decency, but also to maintain a promise to myself that I would not provide answers to some questions. But basically, I had a double dose of grief within the last 18 months or so. I might have mentioned my dad last year, because that was kind of the impetus of me getting 3 releases out now. I'm not going to use this for a plug, it's not what it's for. But I don't really think I talked about the other one. For people who know me from uni well enough, I probably have talked about this, but I've not done it in a public forum. Again, that whole decency thing, I don't air gossipy kind of stuff. But for nearly 2 decades, and he's been on the channel a few times, the videos are still up because why not? It's part of the past. But I had my own, what you might call brother from another mother, whatever term you want to use. But that all disappeared a couple of months before my dad died, and as a counsellor in training, that is the word. We use proper words. But I was driven to a point that I just couldn't smile and nod and hand wave any of the problems away. And even those outside of the situation that led to this, who could see, like, from the outside, things were amiss. It was very clear. Now, just as an aside, this is getting very difficult to talk about without specifics, but I'm doing my best. Now, I also want to say, I know I'm not perfect. I kind of have a cat's approach to socialising. So it's infrequent, on my terms, but when I do. I give my all. I ended up having to make my way home from a relatively unfamiliar place. Somewhere that, I haven't been to a lot of times, and I don't think I've ever been on my own. Now, for those who know me, and the fact that I don't like taking public transport if I don't have to, that's a definite sign things have gone wrong. If I'm saying I'm going to make my way home from somewhere I don't know, that is a bad thing. So at the advice of people that I trusted, I just cut contact. To be put in that position where I was emotionally vulnerable and also kind of physically vulnerable, I just couldn't continue. Now, lack of closure is a big part of why grief can be quite difficult for people. Again, stuff I've learned from counselling training. But for me, if I opened up the dialogue, I'd be swayed to give it one more shot. I've done it in the past. So whilst they haven't had closure, technically neither have I. I haven't been able to explain it to them, and I've kind of chosen the lesser of two evils in that sense. There's an element of self-protection in it, but I would have loved to have someone who has known me for that long to have been around during the immediate aftermath of my dad's death. That's how much I couldn't carry on in that situation. But I only realised a few days before writing this script that I hadn't even fully considered grieving for this relationship, because my dad, quite rightly, took priority. But it's still a large part of my life that's come to an end. All endings need processing. And I'd neglected to even acknowledge it, like good counselling student, right? But that's what this is. It's my acknowledgement. I likely wouldn't have been releasing music or spent years on YouTube without their being in my life. That's always something I'm going to be grateful for. Likewise, they're directly responsible for me and my partner Amy meeting. So good did come out of it. A lot of good in a lot of ways. But by the end, it was kind of hard to remember those good parts. Ironically enough, their support of me entering education late in life has led to this introspection, which has then led me to believe that I am strong enough to go out on my own and to end things. So I acknowledge here formally that this has ended. That relationship is no more. A new chapter of life started from that point. One in which my living number of parents halved, and I got through it. One in which my partner's well-being has taken a turn, and I've had to be there and strong for her whilst also having, my uni commitments and keep this going and everything like that. And I've got through it. One in which I've become so anxious over getting good grades that I feel constantly stressed and worn down. And again, with all those other things going on. But I'm getting through it. This is my chance to move forward and heal. And if one day in the future, we pass in the street, I'll nod. I'm not going to engage more. I'm not going to invite them back into my life necessarily. But I believe in a basic level of respect, and I can only hope that they will do the same. Now I can process the grief. Coupled, with that related to my dad, that's still there. After accepting it, and I can continue this journey less burdened. So until next time, thank you for watching. Happy New Year, and take care.